What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 261 of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback rebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. Today's episode is number 261, and it is entitled Humbly Ask. And today's the first of two episodes for Wacky Wednesday as we go through the chapters of the From Ashes to Destiny curriculum. We're in phase 3, which deals with moral regeneration and positive character development. This is the first story from chapter 7, which is step 7 in the 12 steps. And step 7 is humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. So therefore, the title of this episode is Humbly Ask. And I'd like to start by reading the story of Donald at the beginning of the chapter. Donald used to hang out on the corner of Kensington Avenue and Somerset Street in Philadelphia. That's where I met him. I struggled getting to know Donald because he was quiet and never interested in more than a 1 or 2 sentence conversation. Donald had deep, penetrating eyes, but he only looked directly at me when neither of us was talking. As soon as I spoke, Donald always looked to the side. One day, out of the blue, Donald asked me for a ride to see his mother in West Philly. As we rode out to see her, Donald was quiet, but when we got there, he asked, "Do you want to come in and meet my mom?" I said, "Sure." When she came to the door, Donald said, "This is Pastor Dave. He's helping me out, helping me do the right thing." From that day on, Donald always had time to talk. He humbly shared his struggles with addiction. "I really want God to pull me up out of this pit I'm stuck in," Donald said. "But every time I try to get out, I slip back down deeper than before." Shortly thereafter, I had the privilege to drive Donald to detox. After his time in rehab and growing in recovery, Donald came down to see me when he heard I was having an outreach. I still remember the sweet taste of my own tears as Donald and I hugged and he announced to everyone who was standing around, "I love this man. He's my Jesus with skin on." So, just reading that story still gets me again every time. Donald was a dear friend. So let's start with some questions that fit to step 7 from Donald's story. Number 1, Donald was quiet. He had deep, penetrating eyes, but always looked aside, didn't look you in the eye. How could these characteristics be shortcomings that trapped him in addiction? Do you think he was an introvert? Or what else could cause those behaviors in addiction? Number 2, those behaviors made it difficult to get to know Donald. It was really hard for me to break through because he just wasn't talkative. Do you think he felt rejected by me, or that I wasn't interested in him, especially as he saw me spending time talking to so many other people? Or do you think he felt unworthy? This is number 3. Donald asked for a ride to see his mom, invited me to meet her. Why? Why do you think he did this? What do you think shifted in him or motivated him to take me along or get a ride with me to see his mom? Number 4, after that day visiting his mom, Donald always had time to talk to me. He humbly shared about his struggles with addiction. What does it mean to share humbly? To ask for help humbly? What is humility in your own words? What typical aspects of an addict are gone if you talk humbly? So what would the change look like to you? Number 5, Donald described his addiction as being stuck in a pit, one he kept slipping back into and slipping deeper. How would you describe yours? Number 6, Donald wanted God to pull him out of the pit. Is that realistic? How did Donald pull himself out of the pit when he went to go to detox, to rehab, and then in recovery? So I'm asking you here to see the humble changes in Donald, the conversational changes in Donald, and how would you describe them as finding the strength to pull himself out of the pit, being able to go to detox, go to rehab, and establish his recovery? And then I want you to be able to look and say, what changes would have to happen in you as far as being humble, being able to humbly ask, being able to walk in humility in order to take the same steps Donald took. And finally, number 7, after months clean, Donald came to see me, said I was his Jesus with skin on. Donald had heard about me having an outreach and really came far out of his way to see me again. So I want to ask you, who would be on your list to go visit and why? How did they make that list? And if you went to visit them, how would you thank them? What would the difference be if you thanked them humbly versus talking to them about how good you look? Okay, just a short and sweet one here from Donald's story today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If this stirred something in you, I want to encourage you to speak to someone, to join a group, talk to a coach, a counselor, a friend, a mentor, a sponsor, whatever. You can message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfroma2d@gmail.com. or go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. If you're listening on Spotify, you can leave your comments by clicking on the link they provide in that platform. Keep listening to future podcast episodes, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.